Stakeholder.
In gambling, an independent party with whom each of those who make a wager deposits the money or counters wager.
A person with an interest or concern in something, especially a business.
In emergency management, any person or entity with a vested interest in the survival and recovery of a given community. You.
Welcome to Stakeholder Prepping.
Welcome back to Stakeholder Prepping, where you, yes, you, are the stakeholder in your own survival. We are your hosts. My name is Chris.
And I'm AC. And today we are going to, we're going to do a Dollar Preps episode. You know, this was episode number 2. We did a dozen preps under $1. And here we are 30 episodes later. And, you know, we had originally, I don't know if you remember this, Chris, you know, we'd said, hey, if you have better dollar preps than the ones that we had come up with, then email us and we'll send you our 12. And I think maybe only one person came up with anything better, but
I think it was one person. We had a couple of people that emailed in, but we just didn't have enough traction back then. So this is really going to be a good look at what you can get for under $1.
We're breaking our own record here. We're like Usain Bolt. We're like, you know what? We are going to give you not only the best dollar preps, and then we're going to go and we're going to break that record and give you more, even better dollar preps after we thought we already kind of gave you all the ones that were out there. So this will be fun. But I think there's probably some other, you wanted to do a couple little announcements and stuff like that first, maybe?
Well, yeah, because it's not just, finding the dollar stuff and breaking our records that way. We continue to get new sponsors to help out, and they give us discount codes that are exclusive to Stakeholder Preppers customers, and some of them are limited time, some of them are as you see fit. But for instance, Contingency Medical, then we've also got Jace Medical coming on. We also have MyTopo. If you're looking for a map, MyTopo makes some phenomenal maps. And if you've seen the videos on YouTube, our channel there, you can see the quality of the map, and it's all custom printed. And we've got Grim Workshop, Shomer Tech. The list goes on and on. AC, weren't you going to say something about adding somebody?
Yeah, this not a sponsorship, but just a really good deal. And let's not forget Off the Grid Concepts, our holster buddies there. Those are awesome. I actually just ordered another one. This is funny. I screwed up, and I honestly, it was all me. I ordered the wrong holster, and it's custom, so I'm stuck with it. But I literally ordered another holster for the same firearm because I screwed up on my order, and it was all me. But I've got another batch of stuff coming from them, and they just, dude, I'm exposed to a lot of people that think they can do Kydex work, and the quality you get out of Off the Grid Concepts is just silly. It's really, really amazing. I'm really impressed with them. But yes, to answer your question, 2 episodes ago we had Eric Orris from Fudo Forge on, and he came back and said, you know what, guys, I wanted to give you guys a coupon for your listeners. And this isn't something, we're not getting anything out of this. I know you're in the same boat as me, Chris, that you would rather a bigger discount that we pass on to people. So we're not we're not getting anything out of this, but he gave us a 15% discount. And, listen, yes, it's expensive. Like he said, you're going to be into it for a custom, tactical type knife. You're probably going to be that $400 or something like that. He gave us a 15% discount code. That's pretty amazing. And I would just say that if you're somebody that's in the market for, a badass tactical or bushcrafter knife, you look at the comparable, I'm going to say comparable, but not even comparable, at the high-end factory knives out there. Like, I'm a big Benchmade fan. So like the Benchmade, I think the Adamas or the Arvensis, I think is how you pronounce it, is another one I have. Those are $350 knives, and they are. And so if you want a quality custom, that kind of badassery in a knife, his $400 knife at 15% off is actually less money than that factory built knife, and it is higher quality. And I'm not trying to talk about a Benchmade. I think Benchmade is the pinnacle of quality. I would say that a handmade, hand forged knife is better, and it honestly is less money if you're in the market for that knife right now. And maybe you're just in the market for, some amazing kitchen knife. I don't know, but Eric said, "Yeah, man, we're going to give you 15% off." So what is it? Prepping, I think, our coupon.
Yes, prepping is the code.
Yep.
If you go to foodoforge.com and enter that code in, you get 15% off, which is just amazingly awesome. And then combine that with all of the other deals that we're constantly trying to hunt down for you guys, and a second episode on dollar preps.
Right.
We're saving you money.
The amount of money we're saving here is just crazy. Yeah. And yeah, I would say, I think Eric said that code was good. I want to say till the end of June, maybe. So I'll follow up on that. But he had these, it's like a 6-inch blade fighting knife. And I did order one, and it's this, it's a hand forged tactical knife. It's got a Kydex sheath. I'll be honest, not as good as what Off the Grid Concepts does, but I'm not dinging Eric there because he said he doesn't make his own Kydex. He has somebody else that does it for him.
Right.
But I may end up sending this knife that I got down to Off the Grid Concepts because the last custom knife I had made, I sent down there and had this amazing, an amazing custom Kydex sheath made. And so Off the Grid Concepts does that as well. You go to it's otghex.com, use our code. I think it's prepping there as well, right?
I believe so. Yeah, I need to check. We've got so many codes.
I know, and again, 15% off, and yeah, so you can get a holster for your firearm or a sheath for your knife from Off the Grid Concepts as well. So yeah, we're just saving people money all over the place here.
Gotta love it. Love it. Speaking of saving money, this one is a little bit different. I think. What do you say we do kind of the same format? You give one, defend your answer. I give one, defend my answer. But we've also kind of got to take inflation into the mix a little bit, because a dollar prep is pretty hard to find right now.
I am going to say that some of these are like dollar store buys, and depending on your area, a dollar store buy may be $1.25 now. So we're going to call it dollar preps. But maybe it's $1, maybe it's less, maybe it's 99 cents, maybe it's $1.25. It's within the margin of error. We're going to call them dollar preps. So don't call us out on that. If it's a few cents over $1 based on your geographic location and what's going on with the Dollar General these days.
Yeah, I was able to find everything on my list. I was able to find for $1.10 or lower, but I also went around to like 5 or 6 different places, and I mean, coupons and Harbor Freight, and you get what you pay for. So
I have one that's $1.25 on here, but yeah, I was pretty good about finding stuff for $1. So yeah, that's kind of how this is going to go. And this is, we're not repeating anything, right? These are all, we had to come up with new stuff. And I don't think we have anything that was in our honorable mentions even.
No, this is an entirely new list.
Yeah.
So I had to kind of sit down and think about this. Like,
me too.
All right,
I had to get creative. I had to get real creative with this one. So, I'm gonna kick it off. And here's the thing: this is actually a product of ours, Chris. This is kind of cool, and there are a few of our listeners who have seen this. We've had some beta testers, but we'll eventually, I think, market these. We need to get our store set up, and I've just been too lazy to do that lately. But we came up with the Stakeholder Prepping Emergency Tinder Card. And just so people know what this is, it's a business card size, but rather being made out of business card material, which is oftentimes coated or just kind of cheap paper. These are made out of a bamboo and cotton kind of construction. And it's funny, I was actually trying to think of something to do with the beeswax that I get, because when I harvest honey, I have this beeswax, and then I pour them in these little molds. They're kind of like giant ice cube trays, and then you just don't really have anything to do with them. And so I took these cards that were bamboo and cotton, and then and it's just the size of a normal business card. And then I dipped the edges in my beeswax, and that adds some BTUs to use for tinder. And for those that don't know, beeswax actually has a lot more BTUs than paraffin wax. Beeswax is just better. A beeswax candle burns longer than a traditional wax candle, if you didn't know that. So there's more energy in that beeswax. So the emergency stakeholder prepping emergency tinder card, and these are pretty cool. This is just, like I said, size of business card, but then it is printed on both sides. One side with a number of different types of fires, including like the Dakota Hole fire, which is in the field manual, and
Yep.
those kinds of things. And then on the other side, it's got ways to make a fire, out of like the bow drill type thing, or just rubbing sticks together with your hands and things like that. And then it actually has like our website and our Spotify code on it. But it's the stakeholder prepping emergency tinder card. And I'm not sure what we're going to try to sell these for. I want to say we won't lose money if they're 2 for $1. We kind of have to take into account like shipping costs. It's going to cost us 50. It's going to be a couple of cents or a couple of stamps to get it across the country anyway, or
Right.
something.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
you know what I mean? So maybe we'll do something like, 4 of them for $2 or something like that. But definitely under $1. And we've had a couple of our listeners beta test for us. We've gotten awesome reviews so far. And yeah, I still have a handful. So if you want to email us, the first few people that email, I'll send some to you just to check out. They're cool because they fit in your wallet, and they also like fit if you've got a lot of people have the Altoid tin survival kit or emergency kit. They fit in there.
Yeah, and we'll have a video on exactly what it is, how it works, what it shows. It
Yep.
is really cool that the entire thing is designed to be a high temperature, dry burning, clean burning emergency fire starter. It does have a little bit of waterproof along the edges because of the beeswax, but can you imagine a beeswax candle, like a Jesus candle made out of beeswax instead of the normal paraffin?
Oh, it would. Yeah. The Jesus candle went for like, I don't know what that was, 55 hours. The holy crap. The a beeswax version of that would go forever. But it would
Yep.
also cost, I don't know, would have to cost $20 or something probably.
Yeah, that's very true. But I mean, these are hand dipped. They're sealed. They're actually really, really cool cards, and we'll get a demo video up here shortly.
Yeah,
but
yeah, Chris, you'll have to take some and do a demo, a little demo video, and we'll throw it online of how to use them. Chop them up or scrape them up or whatever. But just kind of a cool idea. I know I've seen a couple other companies that do like a Tinder card, and usually it's just like a beeswax coated piece of plastic or something. We put some time into this. It actually it's designed, it's got some cool information about fire starting on it. And again, basically the size of a business card. It's literally a business card. It's just made out of different material than a standard business card. And yeah, it's if you keep it dry, it's gonna ignite a whole lot of stuff. I think there's a lot of BTUs in this little card here.
So that's your number one, is the stakeholder prepping fire
That's it.
starting Tinder card.
The
I like
emergency Tinder card. And yeah, so the first few people, if you'd like a few of these to check out, to add into your kit, shoot us an email, because I have a few extras of kind of our first version, and I'm happy to send those out to anybody who wants them. And in fact, one of our listeners who runs a big Facebook page and is one of our beta testers, he had just posted something just the other day about these. He got some and he checked them out and he used them. He said, "This is amazing," because yeah, he's like, the amount of time you can keep a flame going for something the size of a business card, he was pretty impressed with, because it's kind of like a little mini candle around the outside,
Love it.
So,
it.
That's my number one. It's something that doesn't exist that we made up. So that's where we're going today.
We promise this one actually exists.
Yeah. All right. So what do you have?
So my first one I was able to find at 2 different hardware stores for $1.05, specifically number 9 AB razor blades, a 10-pack.
Okay.
These are the ones that they're like the 9mm razor blades with the little snap off tips, and they come the very thin box cutter that you can extend and retract.
Oh
That's the
yeah.
blade that replaces the the one that's in use. But having a pack of these, they're great for general use. The handle might be extra. I mean, you can get a super cheap $1.50 handle for it, but if you need it, you can use a pair of pliers and you've got a 3 or 4 inch razor blade. It can be used without it. They are the ones that snap off at the tip. So if your tip gets dull, like if you run it, if you're trying to open something and run it against a zipper and chip off the tip, or if you run it against concrete or something like that, you can keep it sharp. I would not advise this, and we've got a guest who's going to come on in a few episodes who's probably going to yell at me for this one, but I wouldn't advise using them for field surgery because they are not sterile. They are coated in machine oil, but comes down to it, if you need a blade and you need to get into somewhere, um, you've got 10 of them for $1.
Sure,
So
and enough rubbing alcohol, also $1. You could clean one of these up pretty good, right?
yeah, you definitely could. I would still suggest having a contingency medical antibiotic kit on
Oh yeah.
hand if you
A-
need to use it.
Anytime you're breaking skin in the field, I would say have a contingency medical kit for sure. But yeah, so when you say, so I'm picturing these are the ones, yeah, that you break off. When you say a 10 pack, you don't mean a blade that breaks 10 times. You mean 10 blades that break some amount of times, right?
10 blades that break 8 times.
Oh wow.
So you've
Okay.
got 80 tips in there.
Yeah.
If you're like one of those people that extends the razor blade to its full length, no matter what you're doing, and you've got 2.5 inches of blade hanging out, I mean,
Those people.
you're going to snap them off a lot faster than I will. But um,
Those are
yeah,
the weirdos that squeeze the toothpaste from the middle.
yeah, use what you need to.
Use what you need.
Don't go completely in excess just because you have the extra blade.
It's not, it's honestly, it's not the prepper way. You're right. But that's it. So where did you find that?
I found one of them at Home Depot.
Okay. Really? For like Home Depot had things that were around $1?
Yeah,
Wow.
believe it or not.
Okay.
And it was in their like small bits and stuff section. So
Mhm.
like where you get the drill bits, and it's across from the hardware section basically. But the other place I found them was Harbor Freight, and I'm sure you can find them at Tractor Supply. You can find them at a general store.
Okay.
You can find them at Dollar General or wherever. Those just happen to be the places that I went. So a lot of mine are more hardware focused, or what you
Yep.
would get at a hardware store.
Yeah, and yeah, I'll tell you. I mean, having just the utility of having, they call it a utility blade for a reason, and having that extra utility, having those sharp edges for things that you're trying to do that you can't get done with a big bulky knife. There's definitely some utility. I mean, sharpening the grease pencil, or there's
Yep.
there's plenty of utility in having razor blades on hand, not just for the emergency field surgery, but yeah, there's a whole lot of reasons to have razor blades on hand, and having basically 80 tips for $1, that's pretty impressive.
If you need an emergency skinning knife for small game, large game, anything like that, snap off a tip and go to town.
That's actually a really good point. Yeah, small game stuff. Yeah, you probably could process your rabbit and the like with a razor blade like that. You don't got to get really deep into it to get to get at it.
Yeah, and you can also use the back side of the blade, the non-sharpened side. You can run that backwards up the sides of a fish in most cases, depending on the fish, but you can scale a fish with the backside of that razor blade, and you're not cutting into it. You've got a processed fish. It's
I was
protein. It'll keep you alive.
I was just gonna say that the fish is the one I was thinking of. You go a little panfish, something you caught with your Grim Workshop card, and it's flat. This blade you're talking about is flat. If you don't have the handle, that thing's flat, and that could fit in the same tin or kit that you're keeping all your Grim cards in. And that's a good addition to the it's a good companion for any of the Grim Workshop cards, because they're just always on you. You could sandwich that between two Grim cards, and then it wouldn't be dangerous, right? You're not going to cut yourself.
Bingo. You
Yeah.
got it.
That's a good one. I like that.
So what's your number 2?
So I actually like you, I went to the hardware store, and what I did is I there's all kinds of bulk hardware, but I said, what's the most utility bulk hardware out there? And I went and looked at big nails, like your 16 penny, 4-inch non-galvanized nails. In my local hardware store, which is it's like a True Value affiliate, and they had those nails, big old nails, for $3.40 a pound, and that ended up being right about 40 nails. Believe it or not, it's a lot of nails.
Okay.
And these are big nails. These are 4-inch. I think they're 16 penny nails. Big. These are very large nails, kind of as big as you would need. I liked the 4-inch idea because that's something that would actually get you totally into 2 2x4s and then some. Like you're in through 2 2x4s on the skinny side all the way through. You can,
as long as you can hit the nail straight.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So that was one thing. And it's funny because I went in, I'm just trying to buy the smallest amount possible so I can do the math to figure out how many nails I can get for $1 and how many screws. And the girl working there, because I bought so few, she's like, how many did you get? I'm like, it's a 16th of a pound. And she's like, okay, well, what's that in decimals? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't remember. So we're both looking at each other, and she's like, hey, I'm not, she tried to defend. She's like, I'm not stupid. I go, I'm not dumb either. I'm not calling you stupid, but I go, you're in high school. Shouldn't you know this stuff? So, we figured out, okay, you divide 1 by 16, you get 0.07-ish or something. We figured it out. We got there together with our cell phones, but it ended up being about 40 of those for $1. Now, the other thing, and obviously there's a billion different types of bulk hardware, but I was trying to go through what's the most utility thing I could think of. The next thing I looked at there was, and these are kind of the same prep, but 3-inch, so slightly smaller 3-inch kind of all-purpose screws. These were technically drywall screws, and they were a little more expensive, but they were lighter per screw. So you kind of got about the same 40 for $1 because they are lighter, and obviously you're doing it by weight. And think about this, like nails and screws, they have different strengths, and they're best used for like a specific situation. So let's talk about this. Nails are often favored for their what they call shear strength, and this means they withstand pressure from two surfaces sliding past each other, if that makes sense. So like it makes them good for these bulk applications like, house framing and roofing and things like that. Screws, on the other hand, they have what they call superior tensile strength, meaning they're going to keep two objects together better, right? And so that's better for projects where you're joining pieces, under tension or bearing weight, like the porch railing, the kitchen cabinetry, things like that. So you think about the piece of plywood that you've got to put over your windows in SHTF. That's probably better served by using nails because they have higher shear strength, meaning that piece of plywood is less likely to slide down the face of your house if you only use 4 nails. Versus screws, they don't have as high of shear strength. You may have to use more screws for that same job. Screws may be better for like where you're doing an emergency, say like ceiling repair or something where you're screwing overhead. But there's a few things to think about here. Screws, they can generally be reused. If you're good, you can back a screw out.
Oh yeah.
And you can reuse the screw. So let's say I'm going to screw plywood onto my house because the tornado is coming, and I want to take that off afterwards and maybe reuse those screws in SHTF. Well, I would probably, in that situation where my window isn't broken or my door isn't blown off the hinges already, and I'm just trying to protect something, I would probably opt for using more screws because I can take them off, take that plywood down, reuse it. If it was a situation where my window was already broken and I'm trying to board up my home, well, I'd probably use nails because they have higher shear strength and I can use less nails, and I'm not going to back them out. I'm not going to reuse them because that piece of plywood is now a permanent fixture in my house. Does that make sense?
It does. And I never really thought of that. But yeah, you're absolutely right. You have to consider your application for nails versus screws. You have to consider the applicable force direction compared to the axis of your joining material. So to put that into layman's terms,
You're getting super mathy up in here, man.
you have to counter gravity with what you're good at. So a nail is going to be really good at being perpendicular to the ground because gravity is just pulling down on it, whereas a screw is going to be better for that vertical application against gravity because it has more bite into the wood above it to actually hold on to something. So that absolutely makes sense.
The strength of that helicoil in the screw, you have to think about your application. Now, the last thing I will throw at you when considering your 40 nails versus your 40 screws or your 20 of each for $1, that's what I would do. Sorry, that's probably what I should have said because that was the dollar prep. So the dollar prep is you go and you get 20 of these big ass nails and 20 of these big ass screws. That's probably the dollar prep there. But deciding
and pay by the pound.
You're paying by the pound. Now, deciding when to use them. The other thing is, Chris, let me ask you, like, does your hammer take batteries?
Mine does not.
Right. But does your drill take batteries or electricity?
My drill definitely does.
Right. So that would be the other thing to think about in SHTF. In a long-term grid down situation where you may not have the ability to charge that impact drive or that screw gun, maybe stocking up on more nails versus screws simply because you're always going to be able to swing a hammer and you're not necessarily always going to be able to use your drill.
That or you better start getting used to your forearms being 6 inches across because you're going to be cranking that screwdriver by hand.
There are some ways to get around that. There's also hand drills. I mean, I have like my grandpa's old tools from back in the 1920s or something. And yeah, there's like these hand drills, you'll kneel on it and you can crank down and you can screw into things. In this situation, what you probably do is you'd actually use that knee drill to drill a pilot hole somewhere. And then you would use a screwdriver and use the larger screw, right? That's probably how you would do that. You wouldn't stand on the screw and try. You'd never get it in.
You could try. It'd be funny.
But it would be tough to do. So that's probably the way to do it. And if we were doing an episode on maybe some other weird preps, maybe I'll add the knee drill someday or some of the old timey tools because there's utility in having things that don't take batteries. And if you remember our commonality across platforms episode, we talked about this where, somebody right now is thinking, I've got a solar charger. I'm always going to be able to use my drill. Like, don't be an idiot. But maybe you only have one battery for that drill, or maybe you haven't thought about the fact that you only have one drill that takes that one battery, and that drill could break.
Yeah.
So
I have broken a impact driver that way.
Sure.
Burned out the hammer on it and it screws, but it doesn't hammer anymore. So it's useless for that. So I had to replace it.
Yeah.
Takes the same batteries.
That's a good point. So, I will tell you I'm a DeWalt guy. In my DeWalt world, I have the impact wrench and I have the big hammer drill, and I can do kind of 90% of the job with either one of those tools, maybe. So I've got 2 tools and a whole bunch of batteries. I feel pretty good about my ability to make screws go into wood or metal or whatever, but
or fingers.
Or fingers, your other body parts, but you just have to be prepared for that maybe someday you won't have the power, the electricity to use a screw. You're probably always going to be able to figure out how to get a nail into something.
I like it.
So that's my number 2. What do you got?
So my number 2 is actually free, depending on where you go.
Okay.
I was able to find a couple of these, and it does depend on what store you're going to, but a 2x2 tile sample, the little squares.
Mm-hmm.
And hear me out on this. So you are looking for a non-textured, simple finish. It does not matter what color. You're not looking for the high gloss, like mirror finish, super fancy stuff. You want a basic ceramic tile with like a matte finish. And here's why. You can use that as a honing stone for keeping your knives in better condition for a longer time without sharpening them. If you ever saw the movie Book of Eli, where he takes that stone out and he's just constantly running it up and down the machete when the little mouse comes out and whatnot, that's what you're doing. But ceramic is very good at honing steel edges. So if you can do that and get into the habit of having this little 2-inch by 2-inch, super lightweight ceramic tile, run that along your edge before bed every night, and it will stay in better condition for longer. The other side of it is if you need to, and you can get multiple sample squares and just kind of carry them with you. They are heavy for their size. They're very dense material,
Sure.
but it could be worth having it. If you need to, you can actually break, just throw that thing down on the ground or hit it with a hammer or something to that effect and break it into small shards. Those ceramic shards, if you scoop them up, yes, I recommend a glove for this one and eye pro, and possibly hearing pro, but depending on exactly what's going on. But break that ceramic tile into little rocks. And if you take a handful of those and throw them at a car window, I guarantee you're going through that car window in lightning speed.
Oh, and quietly, probably.
They are ninja rocks.
Yeah, ninja rocks. You're right, because they are so dense. There's something about porcelain, and yeah, with safety glass, you're right. You can go through a window. You can literally throw a little tiny pebble that you'll go, there's no way this is not dense enough to break a window. You throw that at a window, and it absolutely will shatter that safety glass.
Yep, it's because of the density and how sharp those edges stay.
Yeah,
It'll pop a safety glass window. We're not talking about the windshield or the rear glass, but the side windows. You
yeah.
throw it at a side window, it's gone.
That's really good. Yeah, I didn't think about that. That's a really good use for it. But yeah, you're right. The honing. So when you're talking about that, you're not sharpening the knife. You're taking the burrs off from the last time you used it, basically, right?
Bingo. And that's
Yeah.
where there is a difference. And I'm sure that Eric is going to correct me on this.
I hope he does. Yeah, because we don't know what we're talking about. We should have asked a lot more questions about sharpening.
There is a difference between sharpening and honing. So sharpening, you're actually taking material off of the knife to get the edge of that knife to your specified angle of attack,
Mhm.
meaning you're stripping material away until it becomes sharp. When you hone it, you are taking bends, microscopic fractures, chips. You are resettling the metal into its natural formation along that edge. So you're not sharpening it by taking material away. You are just scrubbing it down into a more pristine, quote unquote, factory setting. So if
Right.
you've got a chunk out of your knife, that's what you're removing.
Got it. Okay, yeah, that's really cool. The free tile sample. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's actually really good. And you could cut that down to basically any size you need it. I'm sure if you don't have a machete and you don't need a 2x2 or a 4x4 inch sample, you could just use a little 1-inch piece of that stuff and use your pocket knife, right?
Yep. And use the
That's
rest
cool.
as ninja rocks.
And use the rest as ninja rocks. That's awesome. I like that. And did you know that Grimm Workshop, they have a pocket slingshot? Like it's the size of one of their cards.
That thing is so ridiculously cool.
It's very cool. And so I have one of these, and it has, it's not like an ideal slingshot, but it does work. And you can lay that thing on its side, and you can actually launch arrows with it. It is also a bow because you can lay them sort of flat across the card. But yeah, so Ninja Rocks and the Grimm Workshop slingshot, man, you're taking down Goliath.
And that little slingshot is surprisingly fast for what it is.
Yeah, it uses standard slingshot little whatever the bands. It uses those. It's like those are off the shelf bands. It's just the slingshot itself is small, and you're basically propping the whole thing up with your thumb. So it's all about thumb strength. You could send something with the exact same force out of a pretty decent slingshot that you would hold like a wrist rocket if you have enough thumb strength to hold that Grimm card forward, believe it or not. Like it's the bands are the same. So anyway, but yeah, Ninja Rocks and your Grimm slingshot. That's pretty rad.
Yep. So what's your number 3?
So here's what I got. I'm going with tinfoil, and I think I found for $1 it's about 15 square feet, and obviously tinfoil you can use to make a hat so the government space lasers can't try to convince you that the world is round.
I never even thought of that, but yeah, I need
Yeah.
to get more tinfoil.
You should. But honestly, so tinfoil can be used for all kinds of stuff. I mean, you can build some amazing stuff out of tinfoil, but think about like a fire block, insulation. We talked about if you had an emergency wood stove for when you eventually lose power and lose heat. We talked about this, that you could take something that is very combustible and make it a whole lot less combustible by simply wrapping it in tinfoil. So things like that, as an insulator, as a cooling surface, things like that. It's electrical conduction on steroids. So if you need to, if you don't have wire for something, you can conduct electricity with tinfoil. I'll tell you that my 1984 Honda Accord as a kid, every single fuse was 100% wrapped in tinfoil. So it's
Nice.
the electrical conduction there. But some other cool stuff, like you can basically make any piece of kitchenware with enough tinfoil, and it's totally folded flat. And I'll tell you a personal story that I went backpacking once and I forgot like my little pot and pan set. I forgot, and it took me a while to fabricate like a little basically a wooden frame, but I boiled water using tinfoil. You
Nice.
can absolutely do it. You can form anything out of tinfoil. So you can make a skillet. You can make a pot if you have to. So you can basically design anything that any kitchen, implement. You can design out of tinfoil if you have to.
I know when we were kids, when I was growing up in Scouts, we used to make pizza ovens out of cardboard boxes and tinfoil, and just
Sure.
throw a pie pan or pie tin full of lit charcoal in there, and then put
Hmm.
in a pizza and give it 20 minutes. You had fresh, quote unquote, brick oven baked.
Right. And think about this. That pie tin is literally just made out of tinfoil.
Yeah,
You could make that, you could fashion that pie tin, and that will hold your hot coals. And yeah, enough tinfoil, you can make an oven. I don't know if you could you could make a small enough oven. You could make some oven out of 15 square feet, but it wouldn't be a very big oven.
that's true. That's
Yeah.
true. This might be a $2 prep, but
It might be a $2
the
prep.
idea is there for
Have some
sure.
have some tinfoil on hand. You can do so much with tinfoil. With enough tinfoil, yeah, you can pretty much do anything. So what's your next one?
I actually found a 6-pack of grommet eyes for under $1,
Okay.
99 cents. And they were 1/4 inch grommet eyes. It comes in 12 pieces. So you've got the eye and then the clasp, and it was 6 of them for $1. But if you are looking at making an emergency shelter and pre-staging where those grommet eyes are, they're super lightweight. They can be used on anything from tarps to blankets to a shirt. It creates an anchor point in your shelter, and it also creates a point where you can shove a stick through it without tearing the material because it's already torn and sealed. So when you plug in that grommet eye, it's it's just a small piece of steel, but when you actually pinch it together with a hammer or a grommet eye press, if you need one, when you actually seal that, it's tough. It's not going anywhere. So
So these are the kind they don't like pull together and snap together. These are like basically giant rivets with a hole in the middle, right?
right, these are the
Okay.
eyelet ones,
Got it.
not the snaps like
Yep.
you would see on a heavy coat,
Yep.
but these are the eyelets that you would see on a tarp corner.
Like a traditional tarp, right? So you can basically turn anything into that tarp and it just reinforces that edge. Because if you put, say, just a hole in a piece of material like a blanket or something, you're just going to rip that right out the first time you put any weight on it.
Exactly. Now,
Okay.
if you do have a small hole in your tent or in your pack or something like that, you can seal it so it doesn't get worse with a grommet eye. You're still going to
Oh,
have a hole there, but it's not going to rip the entire thing wide open.
I never even thought about that. That for gear repair, yeah, you're right. You're still going to have a hole, but okay, it's a drain hole, or it's the place that your earbud goes through, or it's your straw hole for your hydration now. But you're right. You could make that hole not get any worse. It truly could be used for gear repair. I never even thought about that.
It's they're surprisingly versatile when you think about them outside of the box. You can also put them on a string, and if they're lined up close enough to each other, you have an early warning system because they do jingle. So if you are looking at setting up traps, for rabbits or squirrels or small game or something like that, as soon as it starts jingling, hey, I've got dinner.
That's really cool. Yeah, a whole lot of uses. I'm actually going to buy some grommet eyes now. You've convinced me to buy grommet eyes.
There we go.
That's probably not. I guarantee you, I do not have grommet eyes in stock because, yeah, there's some other. I'm always like, well, I have enough tarps, so I don't need to make my own tarp. But you're right. There are some other uses for grommet eyes.
And they make them in brass. They make them in stainless steel. They make them in phosphate steel. Find the one that's going to suit you. And your needs. Brass is actually pretty easy to paint over if you need to.
Oh, sure.
But some of the high polished ones, like the powder coated ones, I actually stay away from those because when you pinch them down, the powder coating tends to flake off and it instantly loses its weatherproofness. But something like brass is not going to at all.
That's genius. I love it. All right. Well, so I'm going on the my next one for $1 dental floss. And
ooh,
dude, you can. So first off, preppers, man, cordage. We're all about cordage, right? Or you've got your emergency bracelet on all the time, your little paracord thing. You probably took the shoelaces out of your boots and you put 550 cord in there. Like, we're all about cordage. And
yeah.
Dental floss is awesome cordage. Specifically, I'd go with wax dental floss for a couple of reasons. One, you can now use that a waxed piece of dental floss you could use for a candle wick. So, if you were in the business of making candles, either out of suet or like beeswax, that's your wick is the waxed dental floss. Now, obviously, Grim Workshop, a whole lot of those cards require some kind of cordage, whether it's fishing line or it's 550 cord or whatever. But that dental floss makes a good intermediary cordage as a companion for any of those Grim cards. You think about like the entry tool where you're gonna put some dental floss on that and put it over a fence and pull up the latch on a fence, or fishing line, depending on the color. Don't get like the green or the blue waxed, but a white dental floss, you could use that as some emergency fishing line. And it's so funny, I didn't even know you were going to talk about the grommets, but a trip line or perimeter alert, and now you've got your dollar grommets and you put them on your dental floss, and now you have that perimeter alert because your little jingly jangly grommets on your dental floss.
Yeah, and you're talking about like the actual cotton fiber waxed dental
That's
floss,
right.
not the super super thin ultra plastic stuff that you get like from the dentist's office. The super cheap ones.
I realize there are a lot of different kinds of dental floss. I personally carry the little spool and the little white thing. I think it's a Johnson & Johnson brand, and it's a waxed dental floss, and it has the little cutter in there. And yeah, you can get those for under $1. Now, maybe it's not the Johnson & Johnson, it's the Jackson & Jackson brand or something, and it kind of looks like it, but that little. Because, it's in your pocket all the time. You don't think about it. It's very easy to make cordage. The other thing I will say, if you're in like a non-emergency situation and you just need a little bit of cordage for something to tie something together, or, you broke a button or something, you don't want to deconstruct your fancy paracord bracelet. Think about how
that's very true.
I need a tiny little piece of cordage with not a lot of tensile strength, and I'm going to take an hour to unbraid this stupid bracelet. Just carry a little bit of dental floss in your pocket.
That's a really, really good point. I'm going to have to start doing that.
And the one thing,
I break buttons all the time.
I do stuff like that. That happens to me all the time. And the one thing that I will tell you, I was at a wedding in Costa Rica, and I brought a nice shirt, and I didn't know that it required cufflinks. And I didn't have cufflinks. I mean, I just didn't have cufflinks. There wasn't a cufflink store in Papagayo. So what did I do? I took my Grim card that had the two metal buttons, and I took my dental floss and I made these very fancy chrome cufflinks. and no one
Adapt and
noticed.
overcome.
No one noticed. And lastly, I will add that you can actually use it for dental floss, believe it or not. We didn't mention that, but you can actually use it as dental floss.
Oh, holy shit.
And it's a good, and think about, we talked about this before, in the apocalypse, the dental emergency is the one I just, that's what's going to take me out, man. It's not going to be the pack of marauders and the roving looters and the wild dogs or the, zombies. It's going to be the toothache. Like, just take care of your teeth.
Yeah. And I guess one final question on dental floss before we move on. Does flavor matter?
I'm not like a dental floss pro, but I would say that the dental floss you talked about earlier, like the cheaper stuff that you get, the twiny stuff you get from the dentist for free, that stuff is usually flavored. I don't know if like that good white waxed stuff is flavored. I think the stuff, for some reason, when they flavor it, they have to make it green or red or something. And I just want it. I want it a little more gray, man. So no, I don't carry the flavored one. I carry the like white waxed one, and I don't think they make that in flavored. I think the flavored ones are usually colored.
So unflavored white waxed dental floss, not the cinnamon, not the mint, just spend $1 on your traditional dental floss.
What's in my pocket every day, and I have used it in emergency situations, and I do stand behind it. So yeah, that's mine. What's well, you down to number 5, I think? What do you, no, 4. What do you got for number 4?
I'm actually going to go with, and this one, it greatly depends on what you find, where you find it, when you find it, but a magnet.
Oh, sure.
A small quarter-size strong magnet, like something neodymium. You can salvage these from computer hard drives if need be.
Mm-hmm.
If you have an old school CRT TV, you can salvage the magnets out of that, or your laptop or whatever. But having a magnet on hand, can you imagine how much time you would save if you take your cordage, like your dental floss, and a little bit of your electrical tape and drop a magnet down to pick up your keys out of the gutter rather than trying to find a stick that's long enough, straight enough, and etc. Yep. But magnets can do a ton of things. So they come in all sizes and strengths. For this, you're looking for more than a refrigerator magnet, but less than that 50-pound nail puller that you walk across the ground on. And they can still be very powerful. If you get a rare earth metal like neodymium or something like that, don't get your fingers in between two of those because it will require a tourniquet. But some magnets, some rare earth metals, the stronger they are, the more brittle they get because they don't stick together very well.
Yep, sure.
The ones I found, they were ceramic coated. They had about 10 pounds of pull. And they were 1 inch by 1.5 inch by 1/4 inch thick. And it was $1.10 per magnet. But I found them at Harbor Freight. And all sorts of different things that you can do with that. And it can just stay in your pack until you need it. It can stay on the outside of your pack until you need it if it's going through to something metallic on the other side. So that's just a super general use, easy.
That's a great one. Remember we talked about, I think in the alternative navigation episode, that if you have a magnet, you can rub that on a needle and then you made yourself a compass. So you can manufacture a compass out of a whole lot of things. Safety pin. You can manufacture a compass from a lot of things if you have a magnet. And I'll tell you, personal story. It's funny. I dented the tailgate of my truck doing something stupid that I don't want to admit right now. But I found a painless dent removal dude, and he texted me. He goes, "Yeah, is it steel or is it aluminum, your tailgate?" Now, I should know this as an adult. I should know. But what did I do? I ran inside. I grabbed the magnet off the refrigerator that says "A house is not a home without a red healer," and I went out and I put that on the tailgate, and it was non-ferrous. It didn't stick, so I knew it was aluminum. And then how you can do painless dent removal and stuff. So there's a lot of uses, a lot of reasons to have a magnet. But knowing whether or not something is magnetic, knowing whether or not something is steel. A magnet is a pretty easy way to do that.
And that's another key tip. We were recently talking back and forth about range safety and range etiquette.
Yeah.
And there are ranges that don't allow certain types of ammo because it either damages their targets or damages the range. A lot of ranges do not allow steel core penetrator
Right.
ammo.
Right. So
If
they'll
you
take a magnet
find,
and
yep, yep, exactly. You just run a magnet along the tip of that bullet, and if it sticks, it's steel core. Um, you can also, if your firearm does not like steel case ammo, it's a real good way to search through and find all your steel
ooh,
cases before you run it.
that's real. Yeah, because you don't know. Oh, I don't know. Is it nickel? Is it aluminum? Is it what brass or whatever? It's like if you don't know, yeah, you're right. You could take a magnet. Now, pro tip here: if you want to add this to your EDC loadout, because there are a lot of reasons to have a magnet, but there are also a lot of things that you carry in your day to day that don't like magnets. For example, the um, magnetometer or the compass built into your cell phone doesn't really like magnets. It's just going to always show that your pocket is north. Your credit cards do not like magnets. So, pro tip here: if you get one of those really flat ones like Chris is talking about, you can just take your shoe and lift up just the liner in your shoe and put it in there. You'll never notice it's there, and then you always have a magnet. And it's away from all of the stuff that doesn't like magnets.
Yep. Just be careful going through the airport security because you will set off that metal detector.
You will absolutely, yeah. You'll have to be. You got to be one of the people that takes their shoes off. And I've known that. Like I know what boots of mine have like metal nails holding the soles in, so you kind of know which ones you can take through security and they won't beep at you. But yeah, you can stuff that on your person in a way that you're not going to anger any of the things on you that don't like magnets. But magnet is a really good one. That's a really good EDC item.
So
So
what's your final? Your number 5. What do we got
this
here?
is here's my final, and this is interesting. So I'm going to go with pencil sharpener, and some other people have said pencil sharpener is a good thing to have. I went to the dollar store and it was $1.25. I got 12 of them, and I also got one off Amazon that was a little more Gucci for 99 cents. It was just a single pencil sharpener, but it had like a big hole and a little hole, and I like this one better because here's the obvious uses for pencil sharpeners besides sharpening pencils is you can make tinder with them, and with this one that had the larger hole you could make little spear tips or arrow tips out of these, and you can think of all the things that you can do with a sharp stick, right? But you can manufacture sharp sticks, whether it's a booby trappy situation or a self-defense situation, or you're just trying to make dinner. Pencil sharpener, very valuable. Now here's one thing that and you can also, I mean, you could deconstruct this if you need that little blade, because it is like a little sturdy razor blade in there as well. Now, one thing that I will say, besides the making tinder and sharpening sticks and those kinds of things, is you can actually make cordage out of discarded plastic bottles, like 2-liter bottles. And this is something Grim Workshop actually has a cordage card that you can buy for $10 or whatever it is. And it's the same thing. It's got a little pencil sharpener blade and a little, basically just a little channel, and you spin a cut, like you take 2-liter, cut the top off where you've just got a flat, the flat, I guess the largest thing about the largest part of the 2-liter. So you take the top off, like kind of where the label starts, cut it there, and you can run it through this little cordage card. You can do that yourself with a pencil sharpener by simply taking like a Dremel and digging into the side of that right before you hit the sharp side of that blade, and you just make a little deep channel there next to that blade, and you can make a cordage maker out of a 10-cent pencil sharpener. And I'm going to post a video of that, and it's very easy to do, and you can make cordage out of pretty much any plastic bottle, any thin wall plastic bottle, like a 2-liter or 1-liter bottle. You can make cordage with that and a pencil sharpener by just notching out a little piece. So as part of your EDC or as part of your bug out bag, having a pencil sharpener, like I said, I like this one that had the 2 holes in it. One's got a big hole, so you can make kind of some spear points or arrow points, and you can make tinder with it. And then on the smaller side, you notch this thing out, you can run a 2-liter through it, and then that funnel, basically, if you think about it, the cordage will naturally come out the area where you would put the pencil in, because it's funneling that cordage out of there. So I know it's kind of hard to visualize, but I'm gonna send you a video, Chris, to post on our YouTube page. and
Absolutely.
it's very easy to do, and it doesn't take a lot of skill. And if you have discarded bottles anywhere, all you have to do is have be able to cut the top off of that bottle, and then you could turn and make pretty sturdy cordage. Now, I think it's probably things like that would be very affected by UV, I imagine, but as far as making just more of emergency fasteners and things like that, you could absolutely make cordage out of any trash plastic bottle and a pencil sharpener.
And we've got a relatively nice, you want to call it Gucci pencil sharpener that's actually supposed to be striking material as well. So
Ooh.
it's made out of
Ferrorod something. Yeah, I want to
material.
say the real word, but I forget what
ferrocurious material.
Yeah, that.
But you run your pencil or your stick through it, you get all of your tinder, and then you just use your knife edge and strike it, and now you've got a fire. You don't need matches or anything like that. But I want to say those were like $6 a piece.
Okay. Yeah, I'm telling you, at the dollar store, I found 12 of these, and I mean that's a whole lot of pencil sharpeners, and they are 12 little tiny kind of stiffer razor blades. But yeah, I would go with the one that's the dual one on Amazon for 99 cents. For $1, I would buy that. That's shipped, by the way. Shipped for 99 cents. It's insane.
Yeah. It's a low-cost leader.
Absolutely. But anyway, so okay, what's your final?
So this one you can get for free. If you sign up for the Harbor Freight mailing list or whatnot, they send out coupons every month. And a lot of time you'll see some of these smaller items in there, free with purchase, blah, blah, blah. But I actually found a battery-powered LED touch light. And it takes a single AA. It's an LED light, and it has a little on-off, tap on, tap off. But it also has a dimmer on it. So if you don't need fully bright, then you can turn it down to about halfway. We ended up we built a thunder box for one of our dogs because she's absolutely scared shitless of it. But we used acoustic panels and plywood, and we basically built a soundproof box for her. It is pitch black in there. It's also dead silent, but it's pitch black. So we threw that in there kind of along one of the walls so that when she's in there, she has at least a little bit of light. But the fact that we can take it in and out, it weighs a couple of ounces when it's got the battery in there. And if you just need temporary light for whatever you were doing, whether it's sitting down to make a meal in an abandoned office building or going through Home Depot, Lowe's, Harbor Freight, searching for all of the stuff that you forgot to pick up for under $1 before shit hit the fan, this would be just about perfect. They're ultra cheap.
Yeah.
If you lose it, it's not that big of a deal.
This is like the little hockey puck one that I'm thinking of, right? And is the button the light itself, or does it have like a button on the side?
The one that I got, it's about the size of a light switch cover.
Okay.
So it's a little bit bigger, but yeah, there's several different versions and models that you can get, whatever suits your needs. I like the ones with either a manual lockout, so you can throw it in your pack and not worry about it being activated, or it's got the dimmer switch on this one. If you turn it all the way down, it'll actually click into an off position, so it's not using any power at all.
Yep.
That's the way I like it, but I mean, that thing sat out in the shed for 4 years and got all sun bleached and baked, and it still works.
Yeah, it's funny. So I had one of those that was on my nightstand, just as when the power goes out, I could reach over and just kind of like hit it and turn it on, and then get like my wits about me to figure out how to go like find my flashlight and get my clothes on and go turn the generator on and that kind of stuff. So I actually had one of those forever. And if you remember in our Weird Preps episode, I now have in the light on the lamp on my nightstand, I have one of those like 60-watt light bulbs that has a battery built in. So the lamp still works and the power goes out. But before I found those, that's exactly what I did. Is I had one of those little tiny touch LED lights that was just because it's not offensive looking on your nightstand, and it's not like a light, it's not like a flashlight that's gonna like roll away from you, or you're going to drop it in the middle of the night. It's solid and it's sitting there. So you just kind of reach over and you turn it on, and then you can figure out, okay, the power's out. Where's my flashlight? Where's my headlamp? All those kinds of things. But yeah, it's a great tool.
And as long as you don't hit the electronic components inside of it, you can drill through it and make a line or make holes for cordage to go through. If you want to wear
Ooh.
it around your neck, you can stick double-sided Velcro on both sides of it so that it can go from one place to the other.
Oh yeah.
All kinds of stuff. But yeah, having those little touch lights, it can make all the difference.
Yeah, I'd like to see the one you're talking about, the Harbor Freight free one, and we can put that on the website as well, because I'm just having a hard time visualizing that, but it's that kind of thing, that little box with the LED and the switch on it. That'd be a really good thing to show people as well. That's awesome. So, gosh, we just went an hour talking about stuff for $1.
Time flies when you're saving money and having fun.
Time flies when you're saving money and having fun. We're saving a whole lot of money and we're having a whole lot of fun. So, all right, that was awesome, and we're right at an hour, so that was perfect. What's your plan? What's your plan for next week? What are we going to chat about? You want to tease it, or you just want to? Is that a surprise?
I think next week we should probably go into an expanded risk matrix episode to really narrow down exactly what we mean when we're talking about building your risk matrix, having second and tertiary effects planned for. Because, yeah, the power's out. Great. Okay, what happens 12 hours from now? What happens 24 hours from now? Is that power going to be back on? If you don't know, you should probably have thought about it before now.
I like that. Yeah, the risk matrix too. I mean, it's good to revisit it in an episode, because it is good to revisit your own personal risk matrix as things change, as you move from one location to another, as you get older, as you change your vehicle types. It's really good to revisit your personal risk matrix and see what's changed. I mean, right? That's the whole point of the risk matrix, is let's constantly reevaluate that.
Exactly. Be as safe as you can with the information at your fingertips. And sometimes you're the one in control of that. So you need to take a little responsibility and examine your own risks.
That's exactly right. I will tell you, as a kid growing up, I would have, with how much I learned stop, drop, and roll, I would have assumed that I would have been on fire way more than 0 times by now.
Same with quicksand.
I thought quicksand would be a much larger part of my life when I was a child. But you're right. So you need to you need to constantly reevaluate your own risk matrix.
I agree. Well, and for the listeners, if you decide to email us, let us know what you think of this list. Let us know if anything doesn't make sense. But if you've got something that's better, let us know, because we do take your feedback and we do try to make this yours as much as ours. But I think until next week, just remember, you are your own stakeholder.